So what Innové was designed to do was to identify young social entrepreneurial efforts that would connect with our congregation and allow us to use our gifts and talents to do that work in the world that we felt called to as a congregation. A colonial church was founded about 70 years ago. It grew, and after a number of years decided they wanted to expand. And so they found this property. The parcel that we bought was larger than the church required, and so they developed what was needed and then added some later on. But there was always this piece of land that initially served as a parking lot, but everybody had in the back of their mind that they were going to sell that at some point. The decision was made by the congregation to sell it to a developer of senior housing. We had a long history of involvement and work locally and around the world, but it was a little hit and miss, things that started and stopped, and kind of $1,000 here, $1,000 there, with some bigger initiatives here and there.
So mission in church has always been an emotional thing, and it should be emotional. But what we've always said is that, hey, we have a heart for mission, we should have a head for mission as well.
There are things we can do as congregations that none of us can do individually. The idea was to come up with a process where we would engage possibilities and then somehow discern and decide as a congregation what we would fund, what we would get behind, what we could impact together. And that's sort of how Innové emerged.
Well, we looked out into our congregation and we realized we had lawyers and business people and accountants and professionals. And as they were getting gray, we thought, well, we have this wisdom and this experience. What if we could take that experience of the boomers and merge that with the energy and enthusiasm of the millennial generation? We had $250,000 on the line. We had 170 folks from our congregation engaged in different ways. And so a lot of folks were concerned that what if these fail? This is a lot that we're risking on startup ventures. Yes, a lot of startups fail, but let's talk about why that happens. Maybe they don't have the resources they need. They don't have a clear business plan. They haven't looked at the market closely. And so when you start to check down those bullet points, you realize those are the kind of things that Innové offered.
Food deserts are areas where there's a substantial number of low-income people who don't have access to a grocery store. So we were awarded $41,250. So we used that money to fund the initial purchase and retrofitting of our first mobile market bus.
What I like about the mobile market is the fact that it's convenient. They have everything like a regular store. The prices are very low, and the food is very fresh.
There's one story of a woman who lived in one of the public housing high-rises that we serve, who literally had been living off food from the vending machine in her building. So once we started serving her locations, she started shopping on the mobile market, and as a result, over the course of our first year there, lost 73 pounds just from changing her eating habits.
Innové was wonderful for us. It really made our program possible, and without them, I don't know that we would be doing the same work that we are right today.
Payday loans are a short-term, small dollar loan. A borrower usually goes for $200 or $300 expecting to be able to pay it back by their next payday, but overwhelmingly, a vast majority of people that take out payday loans are not able to pay them back. I think the average number in Minnesota is 10 times people renew their loan, and so that adds up to an APR interest rate of 400-500% interest.
You see the commercials, they make it sound exciting. It's not that exciting. I would say it was horrifying.
Right.
I've watched people lose their jobs, lose their homes, lose their cars, and just lose their minds.
When participants come to Exodus Lending, they sometimes have only been in the payday loan trap a couple of months, but for many it is much longer than that. So we take the paperwork and we then will proceed to pay off the loan for that person. We have the participant sign an agreement with us that she or he will pay us back over the course of 12 months, and then that person no longer needs to worry about it at all.
We learned the value of congregational assessment. What do we have in our congregation that we can leverage for doing the work of the kingdom in the world. And out of that soil, what gifts are there we can then use? It was generated in part by this conviction that we want to spend our mission money well. We want to steward it well. And it doesn't matter how big your church is or small. It's all about what do you have? What is your calling as a congregation? Go do that. And you're participating in this greater work of God in the world.